Welcome to a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at 9:30 at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda.
Good morning, everyone. If you'll please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And good morning, everyone. This is the Board of Commissioners meeting for August 28th, 2019. The year is flying by.
No screens at all today.
Yeah, no screens today. We're rewiring and setting up some new technology in here, so we apologize that we're going back into the dark ages here with the screen. So if anybody's got any slides at home, you want to bring them in, we can do that this morning.
Family photos?
Family photos. We used to do that in the attic of the house, put the blanket over the
Yeah.
screen. And
Bring your chairs up, have a
Yeah.
circle.
that was entertainment. Our inspirational word for the day, be devoted to each other like a loving family, excel in showing respect for each other. And we have our dog this morning.
Good morning.
Microphone.
Strip it.
Oh, it's not working.
You do.
Okay.
No.
Ah.
Sorry, Hal, it's not working.
These are.
Kennel number 10 available today.
Right,
So
right.
come see us. Appreciate it. We have
And you gotta get it right.
23
Get
dogs
into all that stuff.
available for adoption. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That one's friendly.
Okay, Madam Clerk.
We have a presentation today from OSU. Do you want to do it now?
Sure. We'll start with OSU, the Extension Office here.
At least they tilted the screen over last night. Look at the back.
Ladies, good morning.
I know. And I
You'll
kept thinking-
introduce yourselves to everyone.
My name is Kyle White.
If it come to the
Come to the
Yeah.
podium there.
It works?
There you go.
My name is Kyle White, and I'm a Community Development Educator for the Ohio State University Office of Extension here in Lorain County. I'm also the area leader for the Extension Office in Medina County, Summit County, Lorain County. And I brought with me today my esteemed colleagues, who you may know.
Good morning, I am Chanon. I am the Agriculture and Natural Resources Educator.
And good morning, I'm Jackie Baca, and I am the 4-H Positive Youth Development Educator.
And we're going to start with a thought as well, and have everyone in the room consider, if not for Ohio State. We don't have long to have you consider that, so you can ponder that thought after our presentation at the end of the day.
I thought it was, if not for the Ohio State. I thought it was.
Thank you, Commissioner Lundy,
Okay.
for that pitch. Remember that.
Yeah, that's still working on the trademark,
Yes.
but
Yeah, we're going to get that. We're going to get
promote
that.
that
back.
idea. Thank you.
So as everybody is aware, agriculture had a very difficult spring this year, and we've faced a lot of
Yep.
difficult production situations. And one of the things that, of course, that we're confronting is the fact that we have issues with the algal bloom and how we can more effectively use nutrients. And then one way we can do that is to get in front of that with education, developing nutrient plans, which I'm helping our producers do. Make sure I'm doing this
You want us
right.
to wait for questions until afterwards? I'm just curious how those conversations are going with the agriculture community. As I've told people before, everybody's got to be working together on this algae bloom. But you know, at the same time, sometimes I think the agricultural community feels like the government's imposing on them by checking up on what they're doing. But that seems to be the primary source of what the problem is.
It is certainly one significant source. And when you couch it in good agricultural practices, how they can be more efficient, how it can actually reduce their costs, you can actually get them to listen to you. A couple of other things I'm really proud of is we've reestablished the Master Gardener program here in Lorain County this year. And so that's also extending my reach. I'm able to serve a larger number of people. We're actually going out into the community looking at community gardens and how we can be more effective in serving them. And you know, I'm pleased to report that, you know, out of challenges often come opportunities. And so this year, with Extension being present back in the office, I've had producers come back to me and say, I need help with weed management, I need help with nutrient management, I need help with farm management. And so I've been able to meet their needs as well.
This year we launched, I actually formally have joined the faculty here in our office as a community development educator. I'm so excited to be here. And my appointment is 0.5 FTE. I also have a 0.5 FTE community development appointment in Medina County. We are going to, as part of this start, which, you know, this is like a train leaving the station. You have to give it time to build. But the one thing that we are going to be teaching this fall definitely is grant writing classes. And the point of our grant writing, and in fact, the point of most of our programming, is to teach people the skills so that they can do the work themselves. Quite often we'll get a call and people will say, could you write me a grant for, I'd like $50,000 for something, and I'm thinking, boy, we would like that too. But let's teach you how to do it and teach people how to fish so that if something happens and they move away or and they want to take that skill with them, whatever, we want them to be able to write their own grants. So we have an introduction class and a You Write the Grant class in which people come in and actually should be leaving with a rough draft that they can submit for a grant. And we've had great success with that in Medina County, and we're hoping to repeat that here in Lorain County. I held my first advisory committee meeting on August 22nd. It was very well attended, and we reviewed a needs assessment. And at some point in the future, I'll try to set up appointments to speak with each of you individually to kind of share with you what we talked about and what we learned. I'm actively engaged in a couple of groups right now, the Southside Pride Group and the Greater Lorain County Partnership. We're trying to partner with as many people as we can in each of our respective areas, but one of the things I'm hoping to help with is a READY grant here for Lorain County in the near future. And I'm partnering with Michael Morgenstern and with others in the county to we're going to go to Columbus and we're going to make the pitch to the USDA.
So I get to work with our 4-H youth, and what we do in 4-H programming is teach kids life skills through hands-on learning using that experiential learning model in a safe environment. And one of the programs that we've really focused a lot on this last year is our OSU 4-H STEM in the City program, and that's bringing that same dynamic behind 4-H youth development work to the kids in the urban area. We've worked with kids in school and out of school, collaborating with different school systems as well as after-school programs to give kids opportunities to have that hands-on learning in a safe environment. They get to learn the basics in some of these STEM concepts, and in addition, they get to learn, practice, and apply critical thinking and problem solving, which is really what our kids need nowadays. They are the ones that are going to solve the world's problems, right? So we need to make sure that we equip them to do that, and we are doing that with some of our programming that we're doing in our urban areas. And this supports our research that we see in some of the stressors that our kids are dealing with nowadays. You know, you hear that terminology, youth at risk. Well, all youth are at risk, right? The risks are just different based on the environments that they live in. And research shows that kids, specifically kids in urban areas, need 3 major categories to be covered so that they can overcome some of those negative stressors that are in their lives. And those 3 areas are caring and supportive relationships, positive and high expectations, and opportunities for meaningful participation. And that is exactly what we are trying, that we are being successful in providing these kids through some of our 4-H STEM programming in these urban settings. Something else that I'm really excited to share with you is how much our 4-H community gives back to our kids. So through fundraising efforts through our endowment partners and several other local community partners, we have been able to provide camp scholarships to 53 children in the county. The majority of our kids that get to go spend a week with us up at Kelley's Island at junior camp are on scholarship programs. It's wonderful that we can get more kids that opportunity to take them out of that environment that some of them may be at home and give them a little escape from that. Let them be kids. Let them learn skills at camp, canoeing, swimming. We've got some cool things called corkling. You'll have to look it up if you don't know what a corkle is. And they really have a great time communicating, socializing, learning, team building. A great opportunity to get them out of some of those situations and get them up on the island for a week. The kids have a great time exercising some independence, learning how to manage some personal hygiene perhaps in a safe environment. We've got our counselors, our teen counselors that really serve as mentors to these kids, and they go through an intense training so that they're prepared to work with these kids as well and give them that positive experience at camp. This year, we were able to give just over $10,000 in camp scholarships, which is pretty phenomenal. In addition to that, we also support kids in their future endeavors beyond the 4-H program. We were able to offer over $20,000 in scholarships. Commissioner Sweda was kind enough, she joined us for our scholarship night and was able to help us recognize our 4-H youth that are continuing on, whether it's to college or trade school or whatever that they may choose, what path life may take them in. So we're pretty excited to be able to support our kids and to get that community support as well in terms of those scholarships. And to give you an overall snapshot of what we've accomplished this last year here in Lorain County 4-H, we have reached over 6,600 youth through our programming efforts. About 1,200 of those youth come from our community club programming. In that community, we've got over 60 clubs that allow these kids to have that experience working with our trained volunteers to give them that positive youth development experience. I'd already mentioned our 4-H STEM programming. Our 4-H program assistant was able to reach 4,500 youth through that programming effort, and we are really excited about that number. Sally Hennessy is our 4-H program assistant, and she just does a phenomenal job at working with the kids in these urban areas in our 4-H STEM programming. We have our Car Teens program. We have a collaborative effort with the State Highway Patrol, and we offer educational opportunities for kids that might have gotten a little traffic moving violation. So this helps to ensure that they can be safe on the road, gives them some of those skills and abilities and knowledge to do so. And the little carrot there is then the points don't go on their license. So it's a really good collaborative for those kids to give them that second chance. And then we also have additional school enrichment and special interest programs, and we reach just under 1,000 kids through those efforts. I'm excited overall to share with you, this is a 33% increase just this last year from our programming and program year 2017-18. So we're really excited to share that with all of you.
We've listed a few of our partners here. This is not anywhere near a comprehensive list, but I'm hoping you can see that our work is mainly covered through partnering in the community, collaborating with existing resources, and adding to those. We're an extender, we're a conduit. We are the ideal partner for this county, and we hope that we will continue to build your trust in us and earn your support, because you've been very supportive and we're very grateful.
I see somebody's missing on that list.
You, yeah, yeah, you're our biggest partner. All right, we should have a whole page just commissioners, because you are our biggest partner. I guess I thought that went without saying.
Oh.
So, because you are our biggest partner. And of course, all these others that we've partnered with, you know what, we're making a mental note of that one. We gotta make sure. What you get for your investment, I just want you to be aware, you get a lot of full-time employees for what you invest in us. You don't have the headaches of the human resources, and you don't have to have the benefits, so have to pay the benefits. So I just want you to kind of get a feel with the numbers here of employees. You can see they add up. We've trimmed our staff. We've brought in full-time educators, so we're really focused on the education piece. We just want to talk about what some of the possibilities are. We would love to grow the 4-H program more. With your support, we'll continue to do that. We really believe that based on the research and what the children need, and that is mainly one positive relationship with an adult in a lifetime can change the entire trajectory of an individual. We want to continue to build those volunteers with adults, and we welcome all of you at any point if you would like to volunteer with these youth, because you would hold a lot of weight with them. We would like more youth to be able to attend summer camps. As campers, as counselors, it really is a great experience on a number of different levels. And what next? Master gardeners. We're looking at expanding that program, and the reason is that it really expands our reach, and people love to be involved. People buy in by involvement. And the benefits are just too numerous to name, but I will say one. We're being asked to come into many homeowners associations that we loosely would say have water features, and those water features, if they use a lot of fertilizer on their property, those will hold the water and they'll end up going into the lake eventually. And there's a lot of training we can do there, and the master gardeners excel at that. Are there any questions about this presentation? Because I did want to, let's postpone that for a minute, and I just want to share what we've got in your packet. We have an infographic. It's a fun little recap of our year. We have a list of our staff and the number of full-time and part-time appointments. We have a proposed appropriations request 1 and 2. We have a list of our appropriations from the past years, and this is on your left, from past years, and a budget summary worksheet for somebody like the Administrator Cordes, who might really like to dig into that. That might be his wheelhouse if you others don't want to look at it. We wanted to really point out on the right how we give back, because we think it's significant. We have a letter, we have many letters of support, but this one particularly, it's on your right, what stood out to us, because we help, you know, in general we help the youth, but when you see somebody that was helped to this extent, who had ADHD as well as autism, I think it really shows the benefits of our 4-H program. We have a copy of our economic impact of agriculture in the packet, information about our Car Teens program, SNAP Ed overview, and the numbers that we touched there, and hope we're, again, seeing great impacts with health and wellness. And a copy of one of our fact sheets. Fact sheets are available on our website at any time. This particular one, Commissioner Lundy, is specific to algal blooms. And we invite any of you that would like to go to Stone Lab and visit there and talk with our staff there. You're welcome at any time. So at this time, we would like to ask for any questions you might have for more information.
I know it's Stone Lab. I've had a chance to go there twice as a legislator, and I would strongly recommend that folks in government get a chance to go over there and experience that. It's very alarming when you see what's going on in the lake, and I think everybody in government, especially those associated with lakefront communities and counties, should be very concerned about what's taking place. And I can't stress enough the importance of working closely with the agricultural community, and the flip of that is the agricultural community working closely with you to make sure that that lake is properly protected, and what is getting to it is protected. Our partnership with you is $90,000 a year, and I see that helps to pay for a lot of extension educators as well too, and so I know
Plus
that.
the 17 for solid waste.
Yeah, plus what, 17,000 from solid waste. So now we're up over $100,000 So we enjoy being a partner with you.
Well, and I just want to, I do want to thank you for the good work you're doing. You know, we live in a time where the environment for our young adults is really challenged electronically. And through the work that you're doing through 4-H, you're pulling them off the couch and into the field, so to speak. And it's just to see the results. You know, I've had time to sit with you guys personally at your events, and to see the results and the return on the time investment in that youth is skill sets that they're going to use through life, as well as we hope back in our county. So thank you.
And I'm really liking the fact that you're getting into the urban areas. That's a new thing, right? That you've only have been doing that for
3
a
years.
couple
We've been
years.
we have a dedicated staff member who is working in the Boys and Girls Clubs, Save Our Children, Elyria Teens Achieve Success, the schools, the libraries, and the learning that she told me, which I think every day I learn something new, but she said, you know, she used to, when she started, she wanted to teach about displacement, she wanted to teach about ergonomics. She said she's really learned that these kids just really need to talk to somebody and build trust and have trust in an adult.
Yeah. Well, you know, especially like bullying, it used to be maybe on the playground or at lunch, but now these kids have access to other kids to bully them when they're at home, in their room, by themselves, on the internet. So I don't know if you're dealing with that in any capacity with bullying, but I think that's a very important aspect as to what you guys can probably achieve.
Absolutely. You know, the way we manage some of that is by teaching them those coping skills and positive ways to manage some of those things that they come up against. It's interesting because, you know, Sally is in the classroom and has the relationship with these kids, and they open up to her about some of those things because she's that safe person for them to turn to. So we do see some of that going on. We talk about appropriate use of technology and ways in which to use them in positive means. Technology is wonderful.
It is.
But we have to make sure that our kids are using it in positive means because it can also really easily take that negative turn.
Right.
So we do our best to give them those coping skills as well as ways to use them in positive means.
They're over on
Russia.
Russia Road.
You're over on,
Russia Road.
so you're housed where? Where's all your programming housed at?
We're over at the Ag Center, so we are just in front of the
Engineer's
county
office.
facilities there. Right, yep.
The engineers,
That's in the Ag Center, that's our building, isn't
yeah.
it? I'm just wondering why you don't list any of our, we don't charge you rent to be in there, do we?
No.
I'm just wondering why you don't list that on here as an in-kind support.
It
for-
should be on the budget summary. If not, then we can add it
Yeah, I'm
because
just
it
not
was on
seeing
there.
it.
Pardon me?
I'm just not seeing it.
Okay.
And maybe I'm missing it, because between solid waste and our general fund, which solid waste is the commissioner's dollars, I mean, you list, so it's 107,000, but I'm not seeing anything on the in-kind supports that are provided.
All right, well, we will definitely, I'm going to have to review that, Mr. Cortez, and we will make sure that that is added back in because it was there.
Well, I'm just wondering, as we're just dialoguing.
Yes.
Did you see?
Yes,
Commissioners
and
anywhere in there?
No, but I didn't see this whole budget summary
Till we walked in.
No, and it doesn't really need to be in the budget, it would just show as an in-kind support. I don't know how many square feet you have there. You know, clearly when...
phones and internet and all.
Well, I don't know that we provide the phones and the internet service.
No.
I don't know, I'd have to see that, I'm not sure that we do.
Okay.
Yeah, our internet right now is through the Ohio State
Ohio.
system.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
but no, you've been very generous with the space. We've got a great space. We can't thank you enough for the support you've given us.
Well, I wasn't asked for that, I just wanted to reflect that our contribution is larger than the 107,000 on the reports to the community. Don, I'm not sure, but the soil and water space out there is similar space, and it's the rent out, because we do a flip-flop for the match on that, somewhere in the 30,000,
Yeah, I
isn't
thought it
it?
was about 30.
And I think
Should
you
be.
occupy similar space to soil and water out there, so.
I think so.
Yeah, so that would be an in-kind match of significance on the bottom lines to demonstrate our support of the program, for the commissioner's support of the program.
Yeah, I think it's always important for us to continue to educate the community. Sometimes there's this misperception, and I can't stress how wrong it is, that the board only is concerned about the large cities and the county, and it's absolutely not true. Very concerned equally about what goes on in the rural community and the agricultural community, and sometimes people don't realize just how supportive we are. So that's why it's all part of the education process. So if you can help with that, that would certainly be helpful. The only other question I guess I had at this point is I'm just curious about how our farm families are doing with the dealing with the tariffs and trying to get through that. I know it's created a lot of hardship in the agricultural community. I just wasn't sure about the latest update on the local farm families.
It's caused a great deal. So not only did we have the environmental stress this spring, but we have significant economic stress. So Ohio State actually has a website devoted to farm stress and farm management, which we certainly have through our newsletter, have reached out to the community. Certainly, if anyone reaches out to me personally, I try to put them in touch with resources. So we certainly know that farm stress, and unfortunately associated with that comes family stress, suicide rates. All of these things have increased significantly in the farm community. So we're doing our best to get the word out to all of those folks. You know, I'm actually going through Farm Bill education, and I'll be helping roll out with Farm Service Agency the decision-making tools to help them as they go forward with, there's several federal programs that should assist them with price support. We also know that there is the federal tariff plan, or don't remember what the federal acronym is, but essentially it's based currently on land usage in the county. Will be dollars coming back from the federal government and how those are going to be distributed. All of these things are Band-Aids and stopgaps. What we're hoping to do is to keep farms from foreclosing, basically.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Most of those farmers are on a small margin in a tough year anyway.
Absolutely.
And it only takes a bad season to really just flip everything around.
Absolutely.
It's unfortunate. On the grant writing program, who's that going to be offered to?
It is open to the public.
Okay.
We have put out press releases, and it is also going to be going out through the SBA and other members of my advisory council.
Great, so it's a broad offering.
It is open to everybody and anybody, and we have had people that were thinking of starting a 501c3 come and talk to us about it.
So
And
all
participate
types
in
of
classes.
different grants then?
All types of grants.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't focus on government grants, but because we had this SBIR program last year through the USDA, the Small Business Innovation Research Grants, I am acquainted with those, and I can give personal attention to those as well.
Great.
You guys do wonderful. And having soil and water in the facility right with you is probably a good synergy. You guys work together on different type of things out in the community.
Absolutely. So we've been approached by several HOAs, and they've approached me looking at land usage, the value of their trees, how they can better use their property. They've then reached out to John Schwartz, who hopefully most of you know. John really does a wonderful job at managing ponds, and so we're trying to work synergistically. In fact, we're going to be offering some joint programming this winter and into spring. I really focused on all of that, whether we're talking about cover cropping for our farmers, or whether we're talking about smart land usage for our homeowners associations and even our local residents.
Nice. Good.
Good.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you
keep up the
for
great
being
work.
here. Nice program.
You want to borrow my Dixie cups, Ernie?
I already got it.
Shut down our fancy technology there.
Well, you know, Hawkins back to the days we used to hang the bed sheet on the wall.
Yeah,
with
right.
D and
Exactly.
get the overhead projector out and bang on it to get the bulb to work.
Sure.
We were doing that up until what, 2003, so.
Wow. We didn't.
You weren't here in 2003, Commissioner.
I know.
So
But
what
I
we,
mean, our old hearing room was pretty antiquated.
Yes, that's the room I'm talking about. Teresa and I remember that.
Oh, well, I was there with the old hearing room.
Yes, but by that time, the bulb had burned out. We didn't have anything.
Oh, no reels? I
Yeah.
see, I see.
Because it
Okay.
was so, you couldn't buy the bulbs anymore for it, so.
Jim was just disappointed because he was used to his hand puppets presentations there, so that's why I wanted the bulb working. Okay, well, yeah, we'll move into the hearing right now for the dog and kennel fees.
So we've been talking about building a new facility for the dog kennel for quite a few years. When they built the last one that we're in currently, it's like a...
You want to talk about that whole process? It
Yeah.
was, you know, I'm not only the county administrator, but I've become the county historian
Yes,
for
because you've been here
governmental.
forever.
Well, I wouldn't say forever, but I'm appreciative of my continuity in employment. So I did have a little hiccup in between there for a little while, but thankfully the county came to its sensibility. Back in 1996, we had a really poor facility. If you think this one is poor, you should have seen the old one. They used to euthanization was the preferred method of dealing with unwanted animals in the community. And they didn't do it very effectively. They used to have an old engine they pulled out of a Chevy Citation, and you'd go out back and you'd start the engine if it started, and then you would take that gas, would go to a pipe, and it would go into a homemade chamber, and it would euthanize the dogs, maybe not. It was supposed to pass through this homemade tank that had water in it. Little did anybody know the tank didn't have any water in it. And they were doing this for years. It was a terrible contraption. So things were pretty bad out there, and the facility was just hideous. So we started working on a replacement facility in '97. I left in '98. This general fund had loaned money to the Dog and Kennel Fund for what at that point was supposed to be a generally, what I would say, a world-class facility that was going to take the county, 30, 40 years into the future. And was really not supposed to be on the same site as the facility that was out there. They had these old barns out in the front that used to be used for county storage. I think Teresa will probably remember those old. If you went out there, you had to take somebody with you to help you got out of the barn when you started looking for stuff, because it was all full of all kinds of weird creatures and so forth. And they had used transportation funds to tear those down and put in a park and ride in the middle of nowhere. The bus never went out there, so I'm not figuring out how we put a park and ride out there. But bus still doesn't go there. But we've got a park and ride. We had a sign out there that says park and ride. It's about a mile from the park and ride. And
Which one?
but anyway, that's another whole long story. But they tore the barns down, and then they decided to build right on top of the site of the old dog kennel almost. But when I returned, we had this half a pole barn, basically, and with a small administrative office that really doesn't function very well on the front of this half a pole barn. And the layout was poor, and the sally port was poor, and it never really functioned correctly.
Talk about the cages on top of the cages.
The cages on top of the cages with urine leaking down into the bottom cages.
Ridiculous.
The fencing used wasn't small enough, and I mean, we had to empty the place twice to take bird feces out of the place and steam clean it, and because the birds got in under the runs and through the fencing, and it was just hideous. Never mind trying to heat it and condition it. When I say condition, we're not air conditioning it, but in the winter we do have to heat it, and it had very poor insulation quality. And so we've been suffering through this for almost 20 years, and we began having a conversation years ago about the need to do something better, and that need is getting more pronounced as we've moved into a generation of non-euthanization of dogs. We're doing the spading now. Not to mislead anybody, we still periodically have to euthanize some animals that are not be able to be
Adoptable.
reintroduced into the community for various reasons.
But we have not had to put a dog down due to space, then that's only because the rescue groups are notified, there's a SOS goes out on the radio, and people do what they can, they foster whatever, just so that we don't have.
It's
to
a
put 'em to
last,
sleep.
it's a last effort.
been
Even
4
even
years,
even
hasn't
for
it?
the
Yeah.
aged pets that are in a very seriously declined condition. But there's the occasion you have to do it, but we do that by lethal injection rather than by gas chamber. So the practices and procedures have become more progressive and less the way they used to be. In fact, they're nowhere where they used to be. But we still need a modern facility. We still need a better facility.
A larger facility.
Right. I've made improvements to this one, working with you commissioners best we could with the runs out back and with the limitations of where we're wedged in against the train tracks and the limitations of the site itself, the size of
Larger
it.
cages.
Right. There's only so much room inside. We took the top cages down. We need to build something better. We've gotten a service life out of this. That's why, another thing, we're trying to get a service life out of what was paid for there, because you're not going to be able to repurpose this building. It's more than likely needs to come down, and
Not even storage? Maybe, no? Okay.
we need to clean the site when we're done with this. And this is going to be at least an 18-month process. Clearly, I'm not going to expose our hand. We've already selected a site. We know where we want to be. We know the land we want to go after. We've discussed it. I've also discussed what we need in terms of revenue. Because of our programming with euthanizing the dogs, and we also do a lot of care that we didn't do 15 years ago. We've pushed the budget to its breaking point. There hasn't been a lot of dollars to roll up or roll over towards potentially a facility. Even loaning the Dog and Kennel Fund money to build a facility, there's no ability to pay that back. They make it clear that the revised code is explicit on this. We can loan the Dog and Kennel money from general revenues, or we can borrow money for the Dog and Kennel to build a new facility, but we cannot give it money.
Right.
It must be self-supporting. That money must be paid back. Advances are allowed, but they're over a period of time, if they're not repaid, they're no longer advances. You've kind of circumvented the law. So we have to have a reasonable expectation and set a reasonable payback schedule that indicates that the money's going to be recovered. That's advanced for any facility or operating costs, because there may be years that they run negative. Now, we've never allowed that to happen, but the state auditors will take exception if it appears to be nothing more than we're saying they're going to pay it back and they never get around to doing it. That said, I've gone over this budget the last 2 or 3 years with you, and there's just no ability to do that in the budget. So 2 years ago, we started looking at raising fees and doing those things, but for various reasons, we didn't get the cost study done. And then earlier this year, we started doing it again, and we had some changes to some other things we were working on. And then the company we hired to do the cost analysis, they had a change in personnel, and they forgot to do the study, and we had to get back at them 2 or 3 times. Then they got somebody hired to do the study. The results of that study are before you, and we have not raised the fees in some time out at the kennel. But if you want a new facility and you in a new location, and you want to continue to be very progressive in how we run our operation, you need to think about your revenues. And I will say that the one thing we need to do with those revenues is we need to make sure we move them into a category that is going to support a new facility and new operations, because it will get more expensive with a bigger facility. I don't want to immediately have people look at this and go, oh, we need to hire more people to do more of this, and the facility is going to be a bit costly initially, and land acquisition, et cetera. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. We're not going to be able to. Please don't even think about we're going to resell the old facility. Nobody is going to want that mess out there, and if they do, then they're not going to want to pay very much for it. There's not a lot of call for a smelly, nasty old dog
It's not that
kennel.
smelly. Have you been out there?
It's still smelly.
I
They
know.
do a good job for
They do
what
a
it
great
is.
job
For
out there.
what it is.
Don't discredit what they're.
But for what it is, they do a great job. I wasn't being deriding of what they do, but for what it is, they do a fine job.
Correct.
But it's still what it is.
I agree. So currently, our dog license fees are at $16 for 1 year, 48 for 3 year, and 160 for a permanent, which is average of 10-year dog lifespan. So what I would like to see is instead of 16 that we go to 20, which would raise about $114,000 extra, which for a new facility, you're looking at about what, and that's not including the redemptions and adoptions.
Right. I'm estimating with land, suitable land, because you need a good buffer, and you need runs, and you need land around all of that.
And not by residential neighborhoods where they're gonna listen to dogs barking all day long.
Well, we're gonna aggravate somebody wherever we go, you know that. But with lands, architectural fees, engineering fees, land development, building, you're probably looking in the $1 million range for a proper built facility. And debt service on that right now is
70,
about 85,000. The markets have moved negative to
Right.
where we've been, so we're probably looking at about 85,000, and an increase in operational costs for, heating a facility and the maintenance on a newer facility. People think the maintenance would be less, but if you have a bigger facility and you have bigger infrastructure on the facility, I'll give you an example. You ever been well, you have been. What do you mean you haven't been? I know you've been. 3 people in the lobby of our facility right now is a crowd.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
You can't even move.
You can't move. The room for socializing an animal,
It's like the size
the
of a
animal,
bathroom.
the pet, and one person are a crowd.
Right.
It's
very
it's
small.
so ridiculous what they did, and it's just like when they built the new 911. I left and came back. We had this monstrosity on the back of the old Gates building. It was obsolete the day they cut the ribbon on it. So you can see that all of that needs to be improved, and that's going to have improved operating costs for all of that. I'm amazed the days they do when we occasionally have to auction off a highly desirable potential pet, and they're trying to all get in that little lobby, and you got 10 people in there hanging out the door, and it's ridiculous what they thought out there.
For sure. Yeah, I think back then it was like the worst kept secret. Like nobody even really knew about the dog. Now there's a lot of interest. There's a lot of rescues. There's a lot of volunteers that come out and help out. So it's come a long way since back in the day.
And of course they didn't put any technology in it back then, and we've been trying to bring the technology up and cram that in there too. Something better than this monstrosity you use today here. But at that same point, I want more technology in that, so we have that built in instead of trying to attach it to.
Well, Erie and Lake are both at $20, and Lucas is actually at $25, and we are doing just about everything. We're spaying or neutering, we're giving vaccinations. The only thing that we're not doing is chipping, and some of the other counties are putting microchips in these dogs. But I talked to the dog warden. A lot of times we'll find a dog that has a chip in it, and they don't update their information, so the chip is useless. So I don't know that chipping is that big of a
Well,
an
Commissioner, in the
issue.
future, firstly, we need to get the new facility.
Correct.
And then, once that's done, all of this is going to take 18 months to 2 years. At that point, we can look at what we're doing then.
Right.
And we'll have to take a serious look at this again in 2 years. We should have been looking at it periodically, but because we were keeping our nose above the bubble line, that we didn't really think we should do much with it. But we need to do maintenance on this more often.
Right. And then the other issue are the redemptions. We're at like 30 some dollars for redemptions, and the cost analysis that Maximus did is telling us that our cost for redemptions is $71. So we've been charging like half of what we should have
Undercharging,
been
yep.
all this time. So, and then the per rate was like $6 that we've been charging per day, and our actual costs are 14.
And our
So,
actual cost would be much higher, so, a little shout out to the groups that have been working with us to get free kennel food and the things they do there. We can't take that into consideration, but if that ended, our kennel costs would be,
Go way up.
operating costs would be much higher. If we didn't have as many volunteers, our kennel costs would be much higher. We're not allowed to say they would be much higher, so if those things weren't occurring, we'd be having a lot more cost than we are. We haven't bought food
for years.
for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of donated open bag food at the kennel. We get
Leashes, collars, blankets,
Right.
washers and dryers. Now, Tori had put out that we needed some paper towels. Boom, we get paper towels. The community out there
Rescue
that
community.
cares about animals
but
and the dogs are like so generous.
And another big,
And
well,
responsive.
here, same thing with the facility. It's washing the dogs. We got this little teeny cram
Oh.
thing in the corner back there. It's hideous back there trying to clean these dogs when they come in. And we don't have an open air shower area. I don't mean shower, but wash area for when the weather's right to be able to do. I mean, it's terrible in there
It
where they
is.
have to clean those dogs, and they have to be cleaned when they're brought in. It's those are things that we need to accommodate. We don't have proper storage for the food either. We've had problems with that too. So all that needs to be built into a new facility.
Right.
And so our costs are what they are. We need to generate more revenue to be able to provide a better facility for the community.
Well, and then, so I would recommend also, so redemptions at 71 and then per day at 14 after the first day, $14 per day after that. And then for the adoption, I'd like to see at $80. So the total cost of adopting a dog for the adoption and the license fee would be 100 compared to now it being 66.
And
And
you
we are
know-
not covering our costs at the 66 that we're.
Right, and you know that you will be subject to a little bit of pushback on that. The people are going to, the rescue groups are not going to be happy because they're going to say it's going to inversely affect the adoption rates, but we can't continue in a negative coefficient.
We're negative and we'll never get another facility.
Correct.
So it's a double whammy, actually.
It's a small trade-off to create a better system.
Exactly. Kennel fee is 100 for the 5 dogs. Adoption,
Is that 100
It's
too?
public hearing,
no,
right?
adoption is
So
80.
we have,
Well, 80 plus 20 would be 100, so
Correct.
is that 100, Jeff? The kennel fees.
Kennel fee,
Okay. Got it?
Okay, well, this is a public hearing, right?
Yeah.
So,
I
are
see,
there?
the auditor is back there. Do you want to waive your 15% on the increase so that we can get
Jeez. Oh, my.
He says no.
No. Yeah, don't blame.
Yeah, but he raised his hand.
Oh,
Don't,
did you want to talk?
yeah, and don't blame the auditor for any increase here, because that's a decision we make.
No, I know, but he gets
So,
up to
right.
15% of the.
I just want to make
license
sure
fees.
people aren't, upset with the auditor, because we kind of set that stuff, or we do set it, so, just for public information, so everybody's aware. But anyone wanting to comment on this morning? Okay. Well, I'm just going to add my 2 cents for whatever it's worth, is that, how I always feel about any kind of increases is that, change tape.
Oh, yeah, but go ahead, you can go ahead. Let's do those.
You know how I feel about any type of increases. I always feel like if we're going to do it, we need to make sure that we do it right, because there will be people who will be upset if it goes up, 10 cents or $1. So if we're going to do this, I think we've been running a really great kennel and a good program. But you hear how much we have to rely on volunteers and donations and all those things, and those are great, and I appreciate everybody and their passion for what they do. But at the same time, we also have to pay for a facility. We have to have ongoing maintenance. We have to have ongoing operations. So I just want to make sure we're not cutting ourselves too skinny here. I came in here today more than willing to go with scenario, I think it was number 3, to make sure that we were adequately funded. so we could service the debt, so we could maintain a first-class facility, so that we could meet our increased operational costs. So I'm just telling you, as my colleagues, I'm certainly willing to do that, if you're willing to do that. If not, I think we should at least entertain having some escalators in here, because costs do increase for operations, at least something to the effect of maybe 3% a year.
I think we have to have a public hearing every time we
You-
raise
yeah,
it,
you
so
can't-
you can't do the accelerators.
I was not able,
Well, we would come back and have another public hearing. in a year
yeah, I
then.
was not able to actually understand whether you could put an accelerator on this. It doesn't speak to it, and it's not clear, and I did not see that with anybody else's fees. I'd have to get a legal perspective before we could add an accelerator. I wish it had an accelerator. Those things are normally, and plus the increments that you have to change them in, some of them are clearly defined. Like with the license, I believe it's $2 per year
right.
that you can add, so a 3% would violate the license piece.
And as far as that goes too, I don't think you can go to the $26, $10 increase depending on how long ago that we raised the license fee the last time. You know, like do $2 per year.
Right, and Teresa and I just discussed that last night. You were going to check how many years it's been, because you get $2 per year.
You don't,
No, sorry.
We don't know how many
like
years.
Teresa did
2007.
said the redemptions and things like that you can raise without a public hearing.
Correct.
But the license fees, you can't do an
Correct.
accelerator.
But for the redemptions and so forth, you still have to do a cost analysis.
Right.
To raise those. The licenses, you get permit, you have Ohio Revised Code guidance at $2 per year, and so that's not just, you can only go up $2. It's $2 per year. If you haven't raised it in 10 years, you can go up $20.
Right.
So I thought you said we hadn't raised it since 2000 and.
We did it in 2014. No, that was 3, right? 14?
Yeah.
Raised it.
And Craig, if you want to come up to the podium, you look like you want to share some information with us.
So the
Because
most
that's the
you would
last
be,
time we did it.
you'd only be able to raise it $8 then, correct? It would be the max.
Thank you. Good morning, Board. I think Jim just touched on it. I was going to warn you, you have to look at the Ohio Revised Code because there are limitations as to how much you can raise fees per year.
Right.
That's a question we get all the time about why is the fee $16? Why do we have the 3-year, 10 or lifetime tag, which again, that was some legislation that was passed a number of years ago. I'm not sure it was the best piece of legislation. It's created.
We don't have a lot of people that do the multi-year lifetime tags.
There's a number of them.
Is there?
I do
And,
multi,
Do you?
not life, just
In fact, we
multi.
just had a person the other day that was late, had to pay
The
the
fee.
penalty, so they just ended up buying a lifetime tag, said it was never going to happen to them again with a penalty. So there are some benefits there, but again, I don't think that was the best legislation. But again, a lot of things what you're talking about here are really tied to the Ohio Revised Code, which I don't think people sometimes understand, you know, why we have to do the things we do. It doesn't always make sense, but that code gets in the way. So just to be
And I think
mindful
on
of
the
that.
lifetime, if I'm not mistaken, it's if the county chooses to utilize the lifetime, right? Isn't it, it's not mandatory? I think
It's a provision of the code, and Jerry could.
I don't think it's mandatory. It's if the board chooses to set a rate for a lifetime, or I think it's 1, 3, 10 in life or
It's a
something like
1, 3 in lifetime.
Okay.
And that's where I think this was legislation that was based out of somebody on the southern part of the state where a legislator's wife was penalized for a late tag.
Right.
And that's how it kind of came up.
that. Usually starts that way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
So
the
again,
next-
like I said, there are a lot of things that you have to deal with, and I know we get questions. We had, again, the concern about the lifetime tag, and why don't I get a break for getting a lifetime tag? Because the average animal's life's only 10 years.
Right.
And again, those are things all to be considered. And certainly, I think you guys have done, I think Jim gave a pretty good historical rendition of things going on at the pound, and been around as long as Jim has. And there were some pretty bad conditions out there.
Oh, yeah.
And it has come a long ways, but I do commend you for looking forward on this.
Yeah.
But again, if you have any questions, and again, also I remind people about the dog mailer. You talk about the 15%, and I do appreciate the funding that the commissioners provide for that, because that is not mandated by law. That was one of the first things I worked on 25 years ago when I started here. We thought it was a good idea to send a mailer out. And I really think it helped in the licensing processes, and that's where sometimes you have to spend a little money to make a little money. And people get that mailer, they rely upon that to remind them to pay and to license their pet. So a lot of good things going on out there, but that's where the funding sometimes has to go. You have to spend a little bit.
Right.
Right,
But
right.
just as a reminder, and we're always there to help. So.
Thank you, Craig.
Yep.
Well, and I think it's important to remember that regardless of where our facility is or whether we're constructing a new one or not, we don't want to be running at a deficit.
Right.
That's just not a smart practice either, and the fact that we've been there bears the need for correction.
Just to clarify too, the Maximus report that we received says that our cost for adoption is actually $146.
Wow.
So bumping it up to 80 from 50, I mean, that's how much of a loss we've been taking on the adoptions, but like, I don't want to make it too much where people will be prevented from
Where it
being able
hinders.
to- yeah, then people aren't going to adopt from us anymore, and we don't want that to happen. So going from 50 to 80 is still not going to cover the cost of the adoptions, but I think it's practical and a reasonable amount to out the door for $100.
I just always like to make sure, in government, we're not in the business of making money, but we do have to cover our costs. So, as I stated before, I'm certainly sitting here willing to make sure we cover our costs.
So the tag fee, let's go back to it. What are we
20.
doing?
I was going to say 20.
We were at 16, we're
We're
going
at
to 20?
16 to 20, yeah, so it'll be a...
So you have plenty of movement on that still. Now my question to council, you didn't think you're going to get away free, did you? Since you're able to move the fee,
$2 per year.
I have to count on my fingers, I'm too old.
How many years?
I don't know. I'd have to
$8, right?
look
It was
when I-
raised in
She's not sure.
14.
She's not
Do you know,
positive.
Casey? Do you have?
She's not
Okay.
positive.
If it was passed in
Okay.
14, it took effect in 15. If it's passed in 19, it took effect in 16.
Well, I'm just saying, this was the one that I had in this folder. This is when we declare the 2014 dog license for 1-3 permanent, and that was done in 13 for 14.
14, so we have 15, 16, 17, and 18, and 19.
Fine.
Because the only
Five.
thing that we got rid of was the late penalties and all that after that, but.
So that's 5. So that's 5. And you're going up $4. Is it permissible for them to move it 4 now, and then, since they can go up 10, 2 next year and 2 the year after that? Because they're eligible to move it up $10. They don't have to take it all in the first
In the first
year.
chunk.
And I believe they can do that at this public hearing.
Oh, now, in increments?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we could do that.
So we'll preset it.
Right. So that it's not, a terrible bite right now, but it's, this way, as we get our project moving.
We're phasing it in.
Right.
And that helps offset some of the adoption
Right.
deficit, if we do that.
Yeah, you're just making the increase, but making the effective date
Mm-hmm.
delayed, so.
Okay.
Does that work for you?
Sure.
I like that.
I
Just
wanna make sure we're
looking
covered,
at some
that's all.
going forward, and that would solve some of the problem. You're not leaving anything on the table, because I can tell you what happens. Once you set this, now you start your $2 ticker.
Right.
That's
Okay.
true, yeah.
So, so
Well,
you might.
and plus the cost of the facility may increase because it may be bigger and, just different things, technology or whatever.
So I would suggest that you use that now and you build in what you, over the next 2 or 3 years, and,
Is that gonna complicate things for you in verbiage?
No, I'm trying to think, because this is what our fees are now, 1648, 160.70. So has to be our last one that we did, was effective 14, because we haven't changed it since,
Correct.
right?
So,
we would just do a maximum $10 fee increase, or, let's see,
Yeah, it'd be $10 fee increase, but it won't be,
right, and then break it down per year.
Well,
to just 5 years out.
do the 4, and then 2, 2, and 2.
and it will automatically roll?
Yes.
Okay, increase.
So $10 maximum fee.
Now, how's that application go to the 3-year and the permanent?
The 3 years
That would
times
have to
3
go
each.
up again each time. you
What
do
I'm
that.
saying is we're going to be midstream on some of those
It just starts for the new,
when they expire.
right. See, the incentive to buy the longer one is if it goes up, it doesn't go up for you until that expires.
Got it. Okay.
So it's only when you're purchasing.
It's much like our terrible yield curve on our investments. So once that exhausts, then you're subject to the new cost.
That's when you, right.
So Jerry, we're good on that?
Yeah, I think you're okay.
And you've got the verbiage that'll
Yeah, I
get
will
us there?
eventually.
Okay.
I mean, I've got it all.
So you
written
know
down,
what
but
we
I'm
want
kinda-
to do, as everybody, we can open up to the public comment if anybody has comment.
Before we go to them, because we're gonna raise all this, I mean, are we doing the same with, are we gonna just leave the kennels at 100, the adoption at 100, the feeding and the redemption, or is that all gonna increase
Those are all
too?
gonna stay the
Stay
same
what we
because
talked
we,
about. Okay.
yeah.
I just wanna make sure, so.
Yeah,
Now-
basically, we're
now-
kind of increasing the fees only to compensate for the amount that we're losing on the adoption fees.
Well, and we're also, that 2 + 2 + 2, essentially, we've earned it those years again anyway. So we haven't maxed out, we're just trading.
Keeping up.
Yes, keeping up.
Well, you'll be earning them again anyway, because you're setting the rates now.
Today.
Right. So
But we won't be
But this is
collecting or acting
effective
on it.
Right.
January 1,
Good.
2020.
Now, and you know that you're not using all of your adoption fees now. So
We have room.
We have room under that too.
I know, but I don't want to cost us to the point where people are not gonna, then nobody's gonna adopt from us, and then
Okay.
that's gonna be a problem.
Okay.
What if we were to preset that fee would go up even just $5 or $10?
Yeah, actually,
At
I'm
each of
not.
the $2 increments?
That I'm a little concerned with because
Can't do it?
I don't believe our costs will come down at all, but somebody could theoretically say, how do you
Okay.
know your costs are not going to come down?
Okay.
There's a lot of room that we're not using. Truly, the argument can be made, is it going to come down $40? It's not going to happen, but we don't know. The $2 is fixed by code. It's hard to argue that.
Right.
The variables and the other fee could be argued.
Arbitrary.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
And the
But we can do
hard
another
shape
cost
tags
study
send
next
us
year or
out
the
with
year
it.
after.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have the $5 heart-shaped tag, if people want to purchase that, it's extra $5 and it goes to the medical fund, so that'll stay the same.
Okay.
So we don't see any other costs potentially on the horizon?
I would have to assume that the increases in the $2 per year will compensate any kind of increases that we might see.
I think it'd be fine.
I do too.
You do have the ability to go back and if you don't need it, you can end it.
That's true.
That's
too.
true. Okay.
Okay, so what, do I have to close the,
Did you
There's no
want
public
to?
any,
Is there anybody in the public?
anybody we asked earlier? No? Okay, I need to make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Excuse me, Mr. Lundy,
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sweda.
Aye.
Can we make a motion to do
Thank you.
Okay. How do you want to, the
Just-
motion frame?
Just kind of do this, and then
Okay.
I'll figure it out.
This?
Yeah, just say the very top.
Okay, so it's in the matter of authorizing the increase of dog and kennel registration fees in Lorain County. This will be effective January 1 of 2020.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
Whoa, we've
Hold
got
on a
to.
second. Okay.
All those Were you researching the Ohio Revised Code while we're sitting here?
Actually, I was looking at the Ohio Revised Code while you were speaking, but I heard January 1st. Actually, by law, the registration period begins December 1st.
Okay, December 1st.
Yes, and I think the
next month.
resolution is to say that you're increasing the fee $10 per the Ohio Revised Code, but you're collecting it
In twos.
in
four
these
and then two,
increments.
yeah.
Because you don't want to, it needs to say you're increasing the fee $10, which you're permitted to do, but this is how you're collecting it.
And like I said, and the registration period is actually
December
December
1st.
1st.
December 1st.
Now, we do a blast email, saves on cost, to all the current owners that we have email addresses for, and they actually can start purchasing theirs online in November. Of course, then it doesn't get paid in until December, which still coincides with our registration period.
Thank you for that clarification, because I wasn't sure. I knew we had between a certain period, but I didn't know when it.
So the registration is December 1st to January 31st without penalty. Then after January 31st, that's when you incur your penalty.
Okay.
And the penalty by Ohio Revised Code is double of whatever the license fee is.
Right, and again, that's one of the things I was looking at as you were talking, but yes.
That's
Okay,
So-
send us your
Yes.
consultant bill there, thank you.
We have no discretion over that either. It's automatic.
So the wording is that we're raising it $10,
Okay.
$4 effective December 1st, 2019, or,
Yeah, 2019.
and then then
$2
the effective date of each
annually.
of the successive increases will be the following year, December
Right.
1st.
12/1 of 21, and then we have to review it.
Right, yep,
Okay.
perfect. Thank you for that.
So the motion is to increase the dog and kennel registration fees, $4 effective December 1st, 2019,
Correct.
with $2 annual increases through
12/1 of 20.
12/1 of 20,
$2, 12/1 of 21.
and $2 12/1 of 21.
I'll second that.
Anything further? Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mrs. Sweda.
Aye.
And thank you, Casey, for putting all that information together for us.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and I can't thank everyone at the kennel and all the volunteers enough for all the amazing work they do, and my colleagues who are, very committed and very passionate to making sure that we do this all right. And I just, as I said before, I just wanted to make sure we were covering our costs, and because we want to make sure we run a good kennel and a strong program, and that's why we've been as successful as we've been. And I'm thankful for all the help we get from the volunteers and the donations, but sometimes you can't always rely on that. Sometimes you got to get things done on your own.
And the staff, too. I mean, we have the best staff that we've ever had out there
They are
right
so
now.
committed.
And we just lost our clerk, and she was amazing. So we're getting a new one, and hopefully she'll be just as amazing.
Okay, so we've closed the public hearing, and
Now we
that's
can
it
move
with
on
that,
to
right?
our-
We can move on to the
We can have a
agenda?
meeting.
To the resolutions? Yes.
There are resolutions. Would you like to do that? this morning?
Sure. Let me breeze through that real quick, huh?
Yeah.
Not much.
Resolutions, number 1, investments.
So move.
Second?
Discussion. Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mrs. Sweda.
Aye.
Appropriations.
So move.
Second?
Discussion. Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mrs. Sweda.
Aye.
Transfers.
So move.
Second?
Discussion. Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mrs. Sweda.
Aye.
No
I didn't
advances.
think so. Just one sec. No advances, no repayments, requisitions.
So move.
Second?
Discussion. Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sweda.
Aye.
No travel, bills.
So move.
Second?
Discussion. Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sweda.
Aye.
Authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary sheet for employees within jurisdiction of Lorain County Commissioners.
That would be our county administrator and our county historian, Jim Cortez. Wears 2 hats.
Getting long in the tooth, long in the tooth. I do have a number of issues I'd like to discuss with the board in executive session. Potential sale of real estate, potential purchase of real estate, pending legal matters, at least two of those. Potential hiring opportunities at 911, the collection center, the kennel, the maintenance crew, ongoing labor negotiations with the UAW at Job and Family Services, and with the United Auto Workers, also with the United Steelworkers of America, with some of our general fund departments.
We're here till dinner tonight?
Well, no, but we have been eating healthier, so lunch has taken longer. The pizza seems to go quicker than the salads we've been eating. So we're getting on board with that SNAP program that the OSU Extension folks have got in their packet here. But all of those topics are allowable under the Sunshine Act for executive session discussion. So I'd ask at the conclusion of our regular board meeting today, we go into executive session and discuss those matters that I've outlined. Thank you.
Approve and waive the reading in the minutes of August 20th and 21st.
So move.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sweda.
Aye.
EMA appoint various members to Lorain County Emergency Planning Committee effective retroactive August 15, 2019 through August 14, 2022.
So move.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sweda.
Aye.
Children's Services authorize various personnel to utilize the agency MasterCard for year 2019 not to exceed $2,500 for permissible expenses in accordance with policy.
So move.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sweda.
Aye.
Engineer, probably should say sanitary, but certify final assessments for the Pheasant Run Improvement 123, 124, and 125 LaGrange Township to be placed on tax duplicate for 30 years.
And so move.
Second.
Thank God that's over. Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sweda.
Aye.
Public comment?
Yeah, public comment. Anyone wishing to address the board this morning? 3 minutes for that? No? No one wishing to address the board? Okay.
Mr. Cortez.
Well, that was pretty quick. Quick agenda, no public comment. We didn't have to drag anybody out. Oh, excuse me. I do have.
Kicking, screaming.
Yes. Commissioner, I do have one issue that came to me late. I need to, we have some leases expiring that we use to our federal grant. I want to buy these leases out. What we normally do is when we get federal grants and we need vehicles for the federal grants, such as the Phragmite invasive species control grant, whatever we're calling it, we'll lease the vehicles aggressively, and then at the end of the lease, we have the opportunity to purchase those vehicles through the county. What we get is a relatively low mileage, fairly new vehicle at a very, very reduced cost to the county. It's allowable under the federal funds. Unfortunately, if you try to purchase it with federal funds, there's all kinds of clawbacks and ownership issues. So we've been doing this for a number of years with our federal dollars to gain a resource at a fraction of the cost it would cost us to do the purchasing. We have 2 of them coming off of lease on our federal grant. And we were having a problem getting the buyout price, but we want to buy out both of those, and September 1st is the buyout date, and I got to get these done. I want to thank Don. He's been trying to get that price from the dealership on them. They're very low miles. One of them is going to be purchased with stormwater funds for the stormwater district, because we need a truck over there. And the other will still be used on some of the grants, for some of the grant work, but then at that point, we're going to, when that grant is over soon, we're going to move that over. But Don and I will talk about that. But we've been successful getting, I think, about 6 vehicles this way now.
Nice.
At a very low cost, and the low mileage. They're usually 2 years old or 3 years old, but they're practically brand new.
Right.
This way it saves the community here and our taxpayers a lot of local dollars to replace our fleet vehicles, and we've gotten a lot of cars that way and so forth. So
Looks good.
It makes sense. So I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Anything further? Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sweda.
Aye.
Good meeting last night. I don't know if we're going to talk about it with the building department, but I was pretty pleased how it went last night, and a lot of good comments. So we got a lot of work ahead of us, and we got another public meeting. But all in all, there was some people that weren't happy with it, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it may have been. And I think so. I was pleasantly surprised.
They just didn't want any government oversight at all, and I was just thinking about people speeding, and if there were never any cops on the road to give you a ticket for speeding, people would just be driving crazy, you know what I mean? And it's just that type of, just knowing that somebody's gonna be looking at what you're doing is very important and can make a difference in the safety and life and death of somebody.
There's a lot of different philosophical thinking that goes on with some folks, and we're poised for a tremendous growth explosion. We've been growing. We're not a very well-kept secret anymore. All you gotta do is look in North Ridgeville. It's the #1
Oh my
growth
gosh.
community in the state of Ohio. We talk about it here in Lorain, but it's the fastest growing city in the state of Ohio. They have a building department over there. That same growth is moving to Columbia Township. It's moving to Eaton Township. It's moving through our community.
Right.
Our incorporated area is expanding out. Somebody was talking to me, a developer was talking to me the other day, and the city of Lorain is just about out of buildable land. And so that growth has got to go somewhere. We're talking with developers in Eaton, Columbia, Carlisle, Elyria Township. That's the first time I've talked to anybody about a big housing development in Elyria Township in years. They're looking for where the services are, and they're looking close to the urbanized area. Where are they going to go next? Because you're seeing this build out of the urbanized areas, and so building department is more necessary now in that thinking process than it has ever been.
I'm sure Sherry would agree. She's been in the business too. I've always looked at the transfers in the paper forever because of my real estate background, and to see North Ridgeville barely took up any space at all in the transfers, and now they are such a huge section of
Right,
the transfers.
and to be clear, so nobody gets confused, we won't be working in North Ridgeville.
No,
I'm
I
just
know.
using
No.
them as a look
Example.
of what's happening in the community. And there's some people that deplore that kind of growth, but they're not going to be able to beat it down forever. It's coming. It's not going to leapfrog over us and leave us alone. It's the migration is west. It's going to continue, and so we're going to have to be properly prepared for that migration west. And right now, we're really not without a building department to oversee and make sure that we safeguard the community the correct way. So.
Well, I think there were, a lot of folks showed up. They had some trepidation about how this was going to affect them with the big thing is the hot water tank or the roofs. But I was speaking with Commissioner Kokoski this morning, and especially when it comes to new housing starts, one of the opposition arguments was the cost factor of permits. In all likelihood, every new construction project has already factored that permit in because everywhere else, they are already paying that fee. So that won't be a new fee that they see a bottom line for. The same for a hot water installation, hot water tank, or any home repair. Those contractors are already accounting for those permit fees, and whether they know it or not, they're not getting a discount because they haven't had one. So I hope we were able to alleviate some of that, and it doesn't take much energy to research some of the examples of what happens when there is lack of building oversight to see the problems that can emerge. And while some of them may be cosmetic, some may be structural, there are those that are safety factors. So I think I feel stronger than ever that we're doing the right thing with this. Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to make comments during my report, but since we're talking about it, I can't stress enough how supportive I am for a building department for the unincorporated area. I think as my colleague had pointed out, that really puts us on the radar screen where we're the only county of our size, whether you're a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, without a building department. It all comes down to when people buy homes, it's the biggest investment they'll ever make. We want to make sure that their investment is protected for a long, long time and that things are done properly. Most folks are responsible, some folks aren't. That's where the oversight comes in. But oversight's not a bad thing, and I said it last night, I'll be repeating myself again. If you walk into a high-rise building and you see two elevators and one says this elevator is inspected by the owner of the building, the other one's inspected by the state, I'll probably put my family on the one inspected by the state. And, when you go out to eat, I doubt very much if you'd walk into the establishment that said, no government oversight here, our food is inspected by, Joe in the kitchen, or, whatever it may be, instead of the health department.
Once a year.
So let's not be ridiculous about this oversight issue. It's very important. It saves lives. There's a reason why we also have very minimal plane crashes in this country, too. Lots of inspections done with planes and which ones can fly and can't
Built
fly.
by the lowest bid.
Right, yeah. That's where the difference comes in.
Pilots on strike.
Right. But, it's just all about making sure that, when families go to sleep at night, they're in a safe home, and families are protected, consumers are protected. So it's a good thing. It's going to be a very good thing. And it was interesting because most of the communities that said they didn't want it are communities that are not experiencing a great deal of growth. And as I've said before, if your community is not experiencing growth, why do you need to be so concerned about it? But when we start looking at Columbia Station and Eaton, which are just, going off the charts, we need to make sure that things are done properly in those communities. But I can't stress enough, as the administrator pointed out, the unincorporated areas. And we just want to make sure that things are done right. It says a lot about Lorain County that so many people want to live here. They realize we have a great quality of life for our families. They realize we have very low taxes here, even though everybody thinks they pay too much. We do have very low taxes here compared to many other areas. And we have great schools. And those are the things that will continue to attract people to this area, parks.
When's our next meeting for the
first.
the first? And that's that's a Tuesday, right?
It's a Wednesday.
Wednesday, we're going to do it in here?
Mm-hmm.
As part of our commissioners meeting, I think
No,
we're going to
it's
open it up. Is it Tuesday?
Yes, it's a Tuesday, because it's, that was the day we were gonna accept our final reports. I made Bobby and Carpenter, so I figured we might as well just do this.
It's right after the holiday weekend, isn't it next week, right?
October.
No, October.
Oh, October. Okay, all right.
We've got a while.
So it's a Tuesday.
So we have a while, and so, okay, we'll see where
Get more
that.
information, hopefully find out about possibly paying online.
We're working on a few things. I just don't want to get us too accelerated. Heck, we haven't even gotten all the fees decided. We don't have a home for it yet. There's a lot of other things to do, and if you try to do too much too quickly, you end up doing very poor at first. I want to make sure that we get out there and we establish ourselves first. And recruiting the right people is going to be the most difficult thing. Believe it or not, chief building inspectors are in very short supply. And without one, we're never going to launch correctly. So I have some serious concerns about getting the recruitment piece done, at least with the key positions that we need, and getting them on board in time to be able to start moving the department. And just for some of the comments we heard last night, the last thing I needed was another headache going into 2020. So if they think that we're just doing this because we have nothing better to do, they're wrong. I don't make more money giving myself more headaches and more responsibilities, but this is something we need to do. So we're not growing government just to grow government.
You have enough on your plate.
And hopefully, once you do the recruiting piece, they're going to bring a lot to the table as well.
I hope so.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a shortage in this community of the needed licenses and people to do the job. They're in hot demand. With that, I'll yield to council. We have a long morning. We'll have a bit of a long afternoon.
Mr. Ennis.
I have two matters of pending litigation to discuss with the commissioners in executive session.
I didn't do it.
Yeah, one of them you did.
Commissioners report.
Well, Sunday afternoon, I was over at St. Lad's for a steak fry, picnic grounds there for Frank Cruz Memorial. Commissioner Sweda was there also. We saw our former Commissioner, Mr. Kelley, was there with his wife. It was very well attended. They were actually sold out, and appreciate the ticket you gave me to take steak home for Ron. Yesterday, Commissioner Sweda and I attended Judge John Moraldi's recovery court graduation. They actually had to move it down into the jury room from his courtroom because there were so many people there to accommodate all the participants and the treatment team. 3 people graduated yesterday. One of them was a mom of 4 teen and adult children. The kids came up and spoke about how proud they were of their mom and how much strength and determination she had to change her life, and it was very emotional. Never had kids come up before like that, so yeah, tissues were passed around to everybody. And then, as we talked about last night, we had our first hearing for the building department, and I'm looking forward to that getting established, and I think it's going to be great for Lorain County. End of my report.
Okay. Had the opportunity to attend the Northeast Ohio Area-Wide Coordinating Agency meeting on Friday. That's the organization, the Metropolitan Planning Organization oversees the highway projects throughout the region, and lots of good things always going on at NOACA. We've been working through membership and membership voting, and some questions were raised about whether the Turnpike and Infrastructure Commission, their new title, should actually be a member and a voting member. I think we decided that they would not be a voting member, but certainly would be at the table, especially with discussions about the Hyperloop. And Mr. Cordes is back in on those meetings and enjoying the some of the interesting discussions that take place down there.
There is more pontification and hot air in that room.
Is that Hyperloop going to happen in our lifetime?
No, I wouldn't think in our lifetime.
I don't think so,
No.
but it is interesting.
Yeah, it is very interesting.
Interesting
But
project.
I remember when they spent years talking about a high-speed passenger rail down there too, and we're not having that conversation anymore either. But
Right.
you never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they do a lot of good work, very supportive of what we've got going on here in Lorain County. They said ever since we did our lakefront plan for Lorain County that now they have other counties that are interested in trying to mirror what we did. So, and just can't thank everybody enough who worked on that. Just on a personal note, I guess I just wanted to say again that I hope that this turmoil in our largest city of Lorain will soon come to an end. You know, the recent claims that payroll wasn't going to be able to be produced for the schools and the teachers was just absurd. I thought that was very irresponsible leadership to create that kind of turmoil, but that's just another example of the turmoil that's going on. And the legislators want to take care of getting rid of this state oversight. They can do it. They just have chosen not to do it. And I don't know any parent that wants somebody in Columbus overseeing or overrunning their schools instead of local control. But hopefully we can get to the bottom of that without any further antics or turmoil being created. Was not able to attend the Art After Dark event there Saturday night to support the band there at Brookside, but I know that's always a great event, and I know that Mayor Hunter's always very involved with that, making sure it's a success, but it takes a lot of people to make that a successful event, so congratulations to all of them. And then just wanted to send out congratulations to Tom Craming and the entire Lake Erie Crushers team. Last night they clinched the Eastern Division title, so they'll be going on to the playoffs. They're our Lorain County hometown team, and apparently I think their first playoff game is on the road starting next Tuesday, September 3rd, but then they'll be home for what I believe would be Game 3. It's the best-of-5 series, which would be Friday, September 6th at the stadium. So congratulations to them. A lot of people may not know it's the very first year they were in the league, 2009. They actually won that championship, which was impressive for their first year. But just a good group of guys and good, strong leadership there with the ownership, and just a real nice family event. So hoping the community will come out and support our hometown team as they try to bring home a championship.
And that's always such a nice family venue there. This was a pretty busy week this week. I want to send a thank you out to Tiffany Barker from our solid waste department and the entire crew over there at the collection center. Last week on Thursday they spent time showing me some of the new improvements that have been made at the center since my last visit. The new baler's incredible. Anybody who hasn't seen that horizontal baler, the vertical baler did like 800-pound bundles of cardboard. This new one can stack 12 to 1,300 pounds. And really is quite a machine to see in action. But then also a shout out to Channel 5 News for the news clip they filmed of our collection center, and they aired it yesterday. They were recognizing the incredible work that we do over there, especially our recycling of batteries. We are like a premier collection center recognized throughout the state of Ohio for some of the services and the advanced technologies we use there. And it's interesting to see folks who still don't even know it's there. So you need to spread the word. It's a free collection center. One of the things on the batteries, little public service notice, they will take car batteries, they disassemble them, they remove the acid, they have they properly dispose of laptop and cell phone batteries, but they don't take the alkaline batteries. And what I was told by the filming crew from Channel 5, they once did a fire segment and went to open a kitchen drawer, not at all anticipating it. A couple alkaline batteries connected, sparked, and started a fire. So if you're disposing of those at home, which you're supposed to, you should tape over the ends. So they use duct tape to tape over those ends so that you don't run the risk of a spark or a fire starting inadvertently. They also, one of the other interesting facts is they can recycle paint. So when you take cans of paint there, they actually can recycle that paint, and it's used a lot of time for habitat homes. But it was fun because I said, are they good colors? And they didn't hear what I said, and they said, no.
We know,
But they are.
right now.
They sell it.
They also sell it.
Who's that?
They sell that paint at the Habitat for Humanity. They mix it up and make a certain
What-
different
what-
colors.
Right now, we don't have a reuse store.
Center, right. I know you've been in discussions.
I have been, and if I may, for a moment.
Please, I love the idea.
And we're going to do a media event, and hopefully, unlike, we haven't done anything at 911 because of some delays, I do want to do some kind of opening of the new way out of the collection center, no more the awkward
It's smooth.
U-turn, and I've been working on this for about a year, and I think it's going to be much improved. The baler is impressive, although we would need cardboard from all of northeast Ohio to be able to fill it. I will give Keith Bailey one thing, since he did think in big terms.
It'll last us.
Last us, I had to have the whole floor cut out and re-poured to stop the building from shaking on its foundation to be able to use it. But we have improved the whole center, and we're going to have an event to get people to come out and bring the cars through, and it's going to be much safer, and we're adding additional capability there. And yet to come is our next spring, hopefully, will be our facility on 28th Street for various collection events, but we'll have a new tire center and so forth over there. We're working on that. But I'm also looking to do a reuse facility. We get a lot of things in that are 2/3 full, half full, unopened. That can be sold for a little bit of money, not a lot, but that can be used by folks in the community. And there's people that are doing the reuse in other communities. We just got to figure out how to do it without it costing us to be able to do that. The center itself is not suitable for reuse, a reuse little store. But I am looking at a property in the area that maybe we can do it once or twice a month. So we can, those products that we know of that are not contaminated, that we can segregate off and then put them back into productive use should somebody want to. You would believe the brand new stuff we get in, cleaning supplies, and people buy it, they don't use it, and then they're cleaning out their cabinets and they just want to get rid of it, and they bring it into the center. So more to come on that, but probably not until the spring. But a reuse center, I think, that's up there.
Good plan, but it's a wonderful facility. Friday evening, I did attend that record-breaking attendance at Rocking on the River, and I think this week's number went over 9,000. That's just incredible to have that kind of a draw down there, and they have 2 new pizza operations that are going to be going in downtown Lorain. And on my way out, I noticed some of the eateries were actually staying open for after the event. So some things are happening down there. Saturday was busy. In the afternoon, I was able to attend the Kendall's Women Equality Luncheon. That marked the anniversary of the 19th Amendment, which was passed in 1920, making next year a significant year. But a couple of little trivia things. Mississippi didn't ratify the 19th Amendment until March 22nd of 1984. Yeah.
You're surprised by that.
And it said other holdouts included Louisiana and North Carolina, who waited until 1970 and 71, but Mississippi was the very last state to go through with ratification of the women's right to vote. And 8 days after the 19th Amendment was ratified, 10 million women joined the electorate. Chokes me up.
Yeah.
All right, and then let's see, Saturday evening was Raise the Roof steak fry over at Hungarian Reformed Church. Great steaks and a good attendance, lots of baskets. And I did attend the Art After Dark at the, I think it's Courtyard over on Detroit Road there, and it was well attended, very nice event, and I left with a new purse.
Oh, wow.
So Tuesday, one comment on the recovery court in regard to what Commissioner Kokoski mentioned with the female graduate who had her children there. There was a comment from the one son who said that he still remembers the day that he came home and the police came to remove him. So when we look at the victims, we sometimes miss how broad and far-reaching that victim list is. So congratulations to all those graduates. Thank you. That's my report.
Board correspondence?
I would make the motion that the reading be waived.
I'll second. Any further discussion? Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Sweda?
Aye.
Okay, see no other business at this time. I would move that we go into executive session for the reasons stated by the county administrator and by the assistant county prosecutor.
I'll second.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Sweda?
Aye.
This has been a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at 9:30 at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda for a printable copy of the agenda.